Citi is out with a major report on the Canada-US-Mexico trade agreement as we move potentially into a renegotiation of that deal this year. We're joined now by one of the authors of that report, Sahra English, Managing Director of Global Governmental Affairs at Citi. Sahra, thanks very much indeed for joining us.
Thanks very much for having me.
Give us the one or two big takeaways from this report. What is the important thing you want people to realize when they're reading this piece of work?
I think, our report, what we just published a couple of weeks ago, I think really highlights the benefits of the agreement as a trilateral agreement. And I'll just highlight two key numbers for you. Mm-hmm. The first one is the growth in trilateral trade since the agreement's inception has grown to $1.9 trillion. That's a $400 billion increase in just, according to our numbers, in 4 years. That's a really big number. The second thing is the boost that it's gone to jobs and creating regional supply chains. And according to our facts, Canada is now the third largest investor in the United States for foreign direct investment and the largest job creator in the last 4 years. So the agreement really has strengthened regional trade and brought lots of benefits across the borders.
Can you did you manage to quantify, and I know it's very complicated, did any particular country do best out of the deal over that period?
I mean, I think when we looked at the report, according to our data, it shows a lot of benefit to the United States with having the regional strength of the trade agreement. But also, if you think about it, it's an update to the NAFTA agreement. So we're talking about 30 years of partnership. Mm-hmm. And companies across the borders have built these supply chains. And the updated version, which is the USMCA, has only strengthened that supply chain. So the benefits are actually spread across all three nations.
Can you talk at all about, say, Mr. Trump's setback at the Supreme Court? Is that likely to affect the renegotiation of the deal? I know that's not really part of this piece of work.
It's not. And if you look back to the beginning last year in Liberation Day, USMCA goods and imports had been excluded from those tariffs. So I think, and they continue to be when they issued the new executive order using a different authority, USMCA continues to be excluded. So I think that says a lot in terms of the strength of the agreement and the importance of the agreement.
I mean, I know it's a fraught question, but do you think major change, if and when it's renegotiated between the three countries, if we do get a trilateral deal, are there any major changes you think will be made?
I think, in our report, we point out that there's likely to be a bumpy renewal, and I think that's probably the right category to put it in. I think there are certain things that need to be updated, perhaps around economic security. These are things that have been in the press. And these are to really strengthen supply chains that have been established already. And I think there might be some other updates, perhaps on the digital front, maybe even critical minerals. That's a huge opportunity now for all three countries.
You gave us the main findings. Do you think there's anything about the trade agreement that people don't realize, or that politicians maybe should acknowledge more, or that the public have missed out?
It's a great question. I think, if you go to, individual states or individual provinces, you'll see just how integrated the trade is. Mm-hmm. When we talk to our clients, not just in Canada, Mexico, and the US, but we're talking to global clients that are looking at North America and our regional supply chains here as an opportunity for them to invest. So I think that's something that perhaps is not as easily done in the data, but if you talk to companies, if you talk to small businesses, you can hear that benefit.
That's interesting if you get out there on the ground, because of course, I mean, the US economy is so vast that any overall number is going to be a bit misleading. And it's funny, really, USA is in a way a continent, isn't it? In a way, the Great Lakes economy is very closely integrated with Ontario, for example.
Absolutely. And if you look across the Canadian border, and if you look across the Mexican border in the United States, those economies are so closely tied. And all the production has moved to those border states to help facilitate that trade even more efficiently.
Thank you very much indeed. I really appreciate it, Sahra.
Thank you.
Sahra English, Managing Director of Global Governmental Affairs at Citi.